So, tell me something terrible.
All right, here we are.
Did you script some jokes for us to read?
No.
Nope.
Lies.
Okay. All right. So I guess now we've officially introduced
Not on
YouTube.
there. Yeah.
Unofficially. And then I guess we'll unnaturally segue into the actual podcast.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining
You
us.
should say your name.
Oh yeah. Hi, I'm Tiffany.
I'm Scott. And you're?
Elise Murphy.
Yeah, you
Because
are.
I have many different names.
Yep.
She does. So, and you are listening to Tell Me Something Terrible.
Yep.
And today we
My
have...
life is terrible.
Perfect.
Sorry.
I'm
Well, you
going to
just
make it worse.
Just tell us your life story. That'll be a great episode.
So it would be. So today's our first episode with a guest.
Yep. Who happens to be a patron.
Yes, she
Which
happens
is
to be a
the
patron.
Best
I'm an
way to become a
experiment.
guest. Yeah, it's pretty much a trial by error.
Yes.
Or baptism by fire, however you want to say that.
Yeah.
Our dog is so happy right now. Look at her. She's fucking grinning from ear to ear.
My dog's in a corner by himself.
No, he's right here.
Oh, no, he came close.
Anywho.
Oh.
But yeah, so this is our first episode with a third party. Are you going to ASMR that?
Yep.
You got to do it to that mic.
So
We're
we are
recording on different mics.
We are obligatory doing the ASMR. I got a new drink and I haven't opened it yet. So
Are you gonna-
just like all of the other, should I
Yeah,
bring
go
it
right
close?
up to it.
Right
Yeah.
up close.
Yeah. Oh, he just grabbed his booty.
He does that.
Yeah.
I mean, when opportunity
I mean,
calls.
it was right in my face.
It was. So
I'm drunk. It's okay.
Yeah,
yes.
the
Sing a bottle
the food
with some
and
vodka.
there was not enough carbs and too much alcohol.
Yes.
So this is going to be a unique experience.
For everybody involved.
There's a dog.
Dog, chill.
She
Chill,
wants.
baby.
She's part
Come
of
here.
my alcohol.
Come here.
My alcohol?
All right, I'll just hold her for a minute. Oh, she
She's
looks so
gonna
terrified.
panic.
No, she's fine.
So we are joined by my best friend. She a real bad bitch, and she's also a Patreon supporter. You don't know that audio?
I'm not a bad bitch. It's
You've
fine.
got a giant wine bottle. What more do you want? Truth
So,
say, that's her second wine bottle too. So just
she's a real
There's not
trooper.
vodka in here. It's fine.
sorry. I'm not gonna read your. I don't even know what the
Stop
topic is
cheating.
about. You said the topic's hair.
It is. Okay.
They just did hair too.
Yep. I'm in mid hair, and so I told
Mid-hair.
Murphy,
Mid-hair.
Ulysses.
Opposed
It's
to
very
mid.
prismatic right now.
Yeah.
Opposed to mid-air.
Mine's very big.
So-
The higher the hair, the closer to God.
So I told her that she needed to make her hair as big as possible because it was going to be applicable to this episode topic. So today we're going to be discussing more specifically for hair trends. We're going to be discussing the Georgian hair trends.
Oh, the Georgian hair twins.
Like
Yes.
in
I will
the
love.
state of
Shall we
Georgia.
have cake?
The
We shall have cake.
the state of
Okay,
Georgia
good.
or the country of Georgia?
The kings of Georgia.
I don't know
Yes,
anything about the
we
King's
shall
County.
eat cake.
Don't. It's history, right?
Yeah.
His story
So why
or
are
her
you-
story.
Name one King George that you know. Every American should know.
From Hamilton, the slobbery King George, who's also lost in the woods.
Yes, King George III.
Okay.
Smack dab in the middle.
Don't
of it.
ask me which King George that is.
There's a lot
King George
of them.
III.
There's a lot of King Georges.
There are a lot of them. So the
But
Georgian era.
anymore.
So the Georgian era runs from approximately 1714 to 1830, and is named such for all of the King Georges
Okay.
that reigned during that time period. And this included.
Your
I
line-
have to.
Your line drawing just showed me how drunk you were, by the way. She's like, I'm underlining with this, like, looks like I'm drawing fucking DNA. Like, it's
Hold
great.
on.
Yeah. Oh, you can't. Oh, there it goes.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Great. Yep, you can see it in there.
We're doing it. I'm the friend. I'm allowed. It's okay. Even though
this
we're
is-
not involved in the Irish, but it'll be Irish.
So this included
Irish,
everybody's
you would do
favorite.
that.
So this included everyone's favorite King George III.
Okay.
So it was an era of immense social change, a population change, and then the fall of an aristocracy, both in the United States and in Europe.
Are we going to talk about the aristocrats?
We are.
The aristocrats?
Like the cat.
Everybody. No? Okay, keep going.
So among many dangers for the pores like disease, cholera, doctors,
Pronounced
starvation,
Pores.
pores. So there's disease.
What about my pores? Are they? Is there pores?
They're very poor pores.
They're huge.
Oh, they're very porous.
So
You're an esthetician. You should fix that.
I'm trying. I've done a good job. Your
You
skin
have.
looks great.
No, I
You
get
can
compliments
tell
on my
your,
skin all
you
the
can tell your
time.
sunburns is all.
Yeah.
Is that alcohol or sunburn?
So
No, definitely sunburned. I'm pasty white. This is me after
12 minutes in the sun?
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
all right, you guys have already taken it off the rails. So the
That's my
pores,
entire
How does
life.
it feel? How does it feel?
disastrous.
Good.
But it'll be okay. We got
So-
big hair and we don't care.
So the pores had to worry about things like disease, cholera, doctors, starvation, and then
And sunburns.
and sunburns, and then lye soap that was made commonly of ash and urine, which they would
What?
only use.
And dead people.
Ash and urine?
Ash and urine. Yep, they would only clean once a month.
Okay, so it was
And
lye
then-
soap made of ash and urine.
Yes, and they would use it once a month.
Why'd
I
they
need
call it
to
lye
pee.
soap then?
I don't know.
Because it was a
'Cause
lie
they
about what was
lying
in
about
it?
it.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
Oh God, you
They
guys are gonna
lie.
make the same jokes. I'm concerned about why I picked him as a partner, because him and you as a best friend are making the same jokes.
You're also yelling.
Well, you're dating your best friend, so
Clearly.
We've been married for a bit.
Yeah. So anyway,
I've been around for a bit.
Longer
Yeah.
than me.
so the poor had all of these issues, and then the dangers for the upper and middle class aristocrats and the nouveau riche included tooth decay from their sugary rich diets, where the poors would wind up having to
I
sell.
have really bad teeth, so that makes sense.
It's you're chugging a bottle of apple wine.
It's fine.
Um,
It's really good wine, though.
so the poors would sell their teeth to the rich,
Like George Washington style.
yes,
Yeah.
when their teeth fell out.
Mhm.
And they also had lead-based makeup,
Okay.
manure
Heard
and
about that.
vinegar-based makeup, and they also had their
I've heard that's the
mountainous.
shit.
That's kind of shitty.
So yeah, I was beat you to it.
So anyway, they also, on top of all of those other things, had to deal with their mountainous hairstyles.
Mountains?
Yes,
Big
mountainous,
hair,
big
don't
hair.
care.
Sorry.
Yes.
I punched
I can
your
get this
nose.
bigger if I really need it.
That's what she said.
So, for those who could afford the luxury, it was quite literally the taller the hair, the closer to God.
Your
And
line,
Maybe the camera.
your line drawing. She's like, straight lines. Straight lines.
No. No, they are not. And they're going down the rails. And they're like fucking drunk. And they're going woo, 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 woo.
So not only did they have to deal with their hairstyles, they also had their big ass
No,
wigs.
she's throwing a line right through.
Stop!
The shine. She's trying to read.
They're gonna
and
think
it's
you're
not
like,
going.
they're gonna think this is how you talk.
Stop looking at my homework.
When I'm as drunk as I am, yes, this is how I talk.
You guys are looking at my homework.
I'm done.
Okay. So, their hair, their actual hair,
Mhm.
would reach upwards of 4 feet tall, and this was all wrapped around thin
It's
metal.
like Marge
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Simpson.
So this was all wrapped around thin metal cages
We knew a
that
Simpson
created
once.
frames. We don't talk about that.
I know it's sad. I miss him.
Yeah. So
So
on
like a
top
tomato
of,
cage on their head.
yes. So they would
Okay.
create these cages, and then they would wrap their hair around it. And if they didn't have enough hair to wrap around the cages, they would add in supplemental hair made of either horse or goat hair
And other people's hair.
and other people's hair.
Yeah.
I knew you would
That's
have
what slaves were for.
yeah,
And maidens.
and people that were deemed
Unsavory.
like psychologically like
Insane.
like, yes, insane, and so they would get thrown in and they would cut their hair off.
Quick backstory. Murphy's a cosmetologist. That's
Hey.
why this topic came up.
I
Yes.
do their
I don't think
hair.
that was ever. Well, you didn't do this. This was out of necessity.
Yeah.
We
No.
can tell.
That was a.
Whoa.
I would have come over and shaved it off.
So
But-
the hair pieces made of usually human slave hair or goat hair or horse hair would be added on for supplemental
Yeah, it was
hair.
used as stuffing.
Yes.
I like to stuff it.
And along with the extra volume, it was also adorned with feathers, flowers, and models of miniature boats and of people and waxed fruit.
They literally put everything in. They made it look like a centerpiece.
When
Yes.
did they
For a
go?
table?
When did they go through the live birds in their hats thing?
They didn't do live birds.
That was after
They
this.
would no.
Or
This
before
was during this.
Okay.
So they would stuff birds. They would take flowers, like live flowers, and put them in these little vases and tuck the vases into the hair. We'll get to it.
I think we have plenty of things here that I could quickly do an updo in your hair. Or my
His
hair.
Your hair.
We should have done that for this Georgian. We have tomato cages
Georgian.
too.
We do have tomato cages.
Actually, that would have been perfect.
There would also be waxed fruits
I'm sure I
and
could figure it
jewels. And they all finished the copious amount. And then when they were all done and everything was in place, they would finish it with copious amounts of hair powder.
Not hairspray.
Nope, hair powder.
Yeah.
So, like all egregious trends, it started with the men. In France, it started with
But they couldn't handle it because they're little bitches.
They are.
Sorry.
corsets,
I'm
heels.
outnumbered.
Who do you think
Yeah.
started that trend? Men.
Corsets?
The reason heels were a thing
Heels
because
for sure. Yeah.
men
It's Napoleon.
needed the
Napoleon's fault.
in
Yes.
order to become, like, they thought,
They had
hey,
to be
the bigger
taller.
the man, the higher the stature, the higher the power.
Yeah.
But they realized how bad their balance was, so guess what? It got handed to women.
Yes. Because we had better core strength. Because we have babies.
And we have balance on our side.
Yes.
With these calves, I could rock a heel. Come on now.
You could.
Well, I have
Look at
no
these things.
balance.
Oh my God, no.
She has no
Look
balance.
at this thing.
But look at Scott.
It's a joke.
He could handle.
But
Don't. No,
Oh, he's not that
I'll
flexible.
cramp
He does
up.
have-
I'll cramp up.
the
So,
flexibility isn't there, but the thought
Yeah.
is.
Call me a
He could
thought.
handle it.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
We finished.
Your calf strength is a thought.
In France, King Louis the Louis the
I believe it's Louis, not
It's
Louis. It's not Louis.
King Louis the 14th
Look at
and
you and
his
your Roman
court.
numerals.
Look at me go. In his court, popularized the trends of big wigs. Mostly, it was to cover the thinning, patching hair caused from venereal diseases like syphilis.
Oh.
Yeah. So, sporting tall
bigger
poofs.
hair.
Yep.
And
So
my
sporting
syphilis.
tall so sporting tall poofs and long
I'll
curls.
take a pass, but I got curls and I got the long hair.
Yes.
Kind of. No, I don't.
Men would more often than not be the ones who would cover their hair with white powder.
Yes, they did.
So that wound up growing in
It kept
popularity.
the lice away.
It maybe.
No, it did.
Doubt. It did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it smothered them.
Yeah, because lice like cleaner hair.
Yes, lice like really clean hair. So keep your hair dirty. It'll keep the lice away. By the way, if you have children,
At the picnic or kids party you made me go to today, they were talking about how they wash their hair every day, these two chicks, and I was like, I'm glad it's me and not Tiff here. She'd be interrupting them, be like, you shouldn't do that. I just listened to him and I was like, that's why your hair looks terrible.
who the fuck are they? Because I would love to have a moment with them. Because they have kids
You know,
daughter's age. They're gonna get lice. Their kids gonna get lice.
It's Cassidy's mom.
I don't know who Cassidy is.
She,
We
Well,
probably
you
shouldn't
about
be
to.
saying children's names. Lily said that they're in class together. So if she gets lice next year, we know who from.
Well, you know who your child's friends are, and
I
you know
will-
how you daughter wash it. You daughter, your daughter.
you daughter went straight to DVD. That's a My Dick reference.
But
Will you read? No, read. No, whatever you were saying, let's just read.
We're just gonna read.
If you don't
We're
keep her
gonna
on
leave
track.
it at that. We're gonna read. So anyway, the powder grew in popularity by 1715, and then by 1770,
In
women.
1970, the powder came back with a vengeance.
Yeah, it did. So by 1770,
church.
women were allowed to wear wigs and big hair. So on top of the heels and the corsets and the minimum layers of like 3 dresses, we got to wear a vulgar amount of hair too. So at first the designs were relatively simple.
You're right the first time.
Yep.
Relatively.
So they were done up with artistically styled S shapes and a few added hair pads and asymmetrical designs. And this was known as the Rococo style, which gradually turned to domed egg-shaped updos paired with an elongated poof.
I love it all.
Who doesn't love
After
an
a night of
elongated
chili, I love an elongated poof. Sorry. That is like the lowest hanging fruit of the night so far.
I just whacked my teeth. Number one, Bob.
So powdering and designing hair would take hairs and they would require a separate room in their house known as the powder room. So
They also collected all of when they brushed their hair, they collected all of that dead hair that came out of their hairbrush, and they put it in this like fucking ball that looked like
A loofah?
fucking dead thing.
Like a loofah?
Oh, rat.
A rat's nest. And they would use it to stuff it. Like they would just put that shit in their hair.
Ew.
Like this all natural, but like I could take what I put out of my like fucking hairbrush. Hey, guess
Oh,
what?
it's
It needs to be bigger
It's
here.
like the shit you used to ball up and leave on the side of the shower.
when I had long
Because
hair.
you're savage.
Yeah, I do that sometimes on accident,
like-
and I have roommates. I'm
Like,
sorry, guys.
what's wrong with you?
That's nasty.
I just hoped it came
I
off your
forgot
head.
about it.
So after setting everything in place with all of their like weird fruits and flowers and models and
Her tchotchkes.
their tchotchkes in their hair, and then the curling and the frizzing and placing it over the cages or the triangle shaped wedges, which are, like I said, usually made of horse or goat hair. They were called cushions, and so this would
For the
add
cushions?
in.
More cushions for the pushins.
So this would wind up adding all that extra volume, and it was carrying who knows what's in it, lice, bacteria, and since their hairstyles, like she said, with the flowers and the fruit, since their hairstyles couldn't be like combed because they were so teased up and in place, it made it impossible to delouse anyone. And then so they wound up creating these special thin scratching rods that were specifically invented for itching their head. Once you've been infested with head lice. Then there were some styles.
They just have rebar they're
Yeah.
just scratching themselves with.
Yes, so there were some styles sported with the fresh cut flowers that required little jars of water for them to place inside of their hair, and so it was kind of hidden and worked around.
Here, let me just.
And obviously, like the dead bugs would, like the dead hair would, like the dead flowers would attract bugs.
And fruit, yeah.
Yep. So after adding
Fruit
all
flies.
of these, adding all these outlandish details, women would then don these thick paper shields over their faces and cover their dresses.
No, they're ready for COVID.
They are.
Oh, that's where the dog collar. Wait, I
the
have.
dog collar.
Dog
That's
comb.
exactly it.
Don't go get it. No. I saw the look in your eye. We understand.
So
No.
they would.
A dog cone is technically called an Elizabethan collar.
Now you know why. Because they would
Should I
cover.
go grab my dog's
No.
cone?
No.
He actually needs to be cone.
So instead, he's eating our dog's bone.
Yes, he's instead of coning, he's boning.
So they would
I
take
keep
these
falling over the
cones
picture.
and they would put them around their foreheads.
YouTube doesn't care about me.
And then they
It's
would
okay, it's all about the pitches.
they would drape
Female dogs, you know?
they would drape their dresses with like bags. So they would then commence the nasty act of powdering their hair, and it was the same for the men. So like
Which
at
is
first
also dry shampoo
nowadays, yeah.
this day and age.
So what they would wind up doing was before applying the powder to the entire giant bouffant, they would wind up covering it.
Bouffant.
The bouffant. They would wind up covering it in.
Okay, Blanche.
So they would wind up covering it in what was called either pomade.
Everybody loves palm.
I do love me some pomade.
You're a
I
dapper
love
Dan man?
pomade.
Thank you. I'm a dapper Dan man. Jokes right here. So and it was either
She
pomade.
has to write her jokes
I
because she
do.
can't think of them on the fly.
I thought I'm on the fly. I just have to hold them back for 2 weeks.
I am a man of constant sorrow.
We can watch
So-
that after this.
Yep. So we
It's a
wound
good
up.
movie.
So they wound up
Recommend it.
covering their hair in pomade or pomatatum, which is just the fancy pomade that has smells added to it.
And there's my squishy face doll.
Oh.
So to make their hair greasier, and this would allow for maximum stickiness for the powder. They would don everything to protect their clothing and their faces, and they would take these little cones, kind of like like in fireplaces when they would fluff up the fireplaces to start the fires.
Like the big accordion things?
Yes.
Okay.
So they would take those
I have
accordion
an accordion
things
at my house.
full of powder, and they would fluff it on
They
their
would
hair.
tar and feather each other.
Yes, they would tar and feather their hair, and they would use 1 to 2 pounds worth of powder on their hair.
That's
and you'd have to walk around.
That's like Scarface shit.
Yes, you'd have to walk around with that much powder on your hair for weeks.
Nice.
I've been there. It's hot and I'm fat.
It's awful. So, the powder was usually made of rice or corn or potato starch, for the more kind of off.
Gluten free though.
Yes.
I like it.
But the poors, they couldn't afford that, so they would use flour. So men wore white or gray powder, and sometimes they would don black, which was made with ink, or brown that was made with umber. So those were also common hair powders.
So what is umber?
As it comes from trees, I think.
It's lumber without the L.
Yep. Shallow dives here.
Umber.
So anyway, women were more often seen wearing and pastels such as pink lavender or a bluish gray, which is why my hair is applicable to this situation.
Okay, well,
Don't
it's
flip
a
it.
process, okay?
Okay, so if the powder maker was caught cutting the starch-based powder with either alabaster or plaster of Paris or any other material, they would be fined and they would lose their licenses because the powder is also required to carry licenses. So this is sort of like the birth of cosmetology licenses, essentially.
So alabaster was all plaster. Because it made shit white, and that's what you use to, like, fucking make walls nice and white and smooth when you plaster and shit.
I've always said Al's a bastard.
So there were some standards back in the day.
There were.
Not many,
Very minimum.
but some. Only
So perfume was also frequently added because something was needed to cover up the smell of humans, rotting fruit, dead flowers, BD, disease, or the horse and goat hair, or whatever else they placed. So some of these hair sculptures were worn for weeks, which required women to sleep sitting in a chair.
no.
Yeah, no, in chairs.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I've done that when I've been drunk and I've had a wedding that... Okay, so long
Long story short? Long story short.
long story short, if I've done my makeup that day and I know I gotta get up early for hair and doing shit, I'll sleep in a recliner.
With your makeup on?
Yes. I sleep face
The
up.
skincare person in her just shit her pants. With your...
I've told you this story before. I'll sleep face up in a recliner so I don't roll onto my face.
So, they would sleep standing up, or sitting in a chair.
Standing up. Like
Yes.
fucking... Like sharks.
horses.
Like sharks. But it just...
So they would sleep in a chair, and so they would have specifically tailored, like, giant nightcaps to go over their hair. And they were, yes, like a tarp. And they were held in place with long pins.
So
And
They also had
So-
a thing that rested under their neck.
Yeah, like the geishas.
they just look like Bride of
It was just a
Frankenstein.
Yes.
like a wood fucking
Yep.
like
The geishas would do that back, because if they would
So they
train
look like
them.
linebackers in the 90s that
Yes,
wore those neck
they
rolls.
Yes.
So you were trained when you were a geisha.
Yes.
And they put wax
Rice.
on the side of your
They
head.
put rice underneath your head, too.
They put wax on the side of your head. So and they would sprinkle rice on the floor. And so that if you moved off the fucking weird little
U-shaped.
pillow, that rested under your neck, and you moved, you'd have rice stuck
And
to your
fluffed
head.
up your hair. They would know that.
because
Have you
they
read
spent so much money on their hair,
so much?
and they only did it once a month.
Keep reading.
Ew.
You're almost there.
I should have done geisha hair.
Yeah.
Ew. So anyway, they're large tailored
Next
nightcaps.
tail.
Yep.
Episode 94.
So it wasn't.
No, I'll be on
unusual-
there before that.
This is 47. I was just doubling it.
So it wasn't usual for the sack to be held in place with upwards of 24 pins, the long pins, to hold it in place. So
she's come.
after that, we're going to enter Georgina, who is the Duchess of Devonshire, and she's and also the infamous Marie Antoinette, who is the Queen of France.
Let us eat cake.
Yep. So rich women were often in competition with each other, and these two really stepped up their game.
If your dog hits our power strip, it's going to really ruin the podcast.
So,
Hey, turd bro.
No, he's fine. He's fine where he's
fine.
at. Don't you roll
so,
over, you big son of a bitch.
So now we have Georgina,
Dog joke.
So we have Georgina, who debuted a 3-foot-tall tower of hair. It was decorated with stuffed birds, waxed fruit, and modeled ships. So this started the trend that women needed to outdo
One another.
I put updo one another.
The higher the hair, the closer to God.
Yes. So this led to women being required to sit on the floors of carriages because their hair was too tall to accommodate them.
Where's too tall? You said it right the first
Their
time.
hairs were too tall to accommodate them and the styles.
They should just cut holes in the top of the carriages.
So
Let them air it out.
So
Okay, Marge.
women also became
Same
fire
thing.
hazards with all of the gauze and the other flammable bits and bops poking out of their already unnecessarily tall hair. They would come in contact with dangerously close to the open flames of candled chandeliers. So they run the risk of literally catching themselves on fire. Marie Antoinette pushed the boundaries of the Rococo style even further. Her hairdresser, her name was Leonard Audie. On one literal drunken night, he was designing Marie Antoinette's hair for her for the opera. So Leonard Audie,
Cheers.
he wound up designing a 4-foot-tall dome-shaped poof with curls that ran down her back. He added 3 ostrich feathers and jewels, and he named it the Jolie Femme. So her hair only became...
Angelina Jolie what?
her hair was named the Jolie Femme. So her hair only became more elaborate, and so did Audie's signature style. He wound up doing hair for her and his other clients, and he was eventually put on the payroll for the castle, and he wound up tagging along to special events for the sole purpose of tending to the queen's hair.
Repairing the rotten fruit.
Yep, repairing the rotten fruit. So, some even attribute the fall of the French royalty partially to Marie Antoinette's hair, due to the public.
No, not partially. It's like the whole thing involved around it.
Yes, because her hair was so elaborate. We'll get to it.
We
Hold
didn't
on.
bring any snacks. You gotta finish because I'm starving.
So,
Yeah, so am I.
so Marie Antoinette's hair,
I like food.
due to the public attack of the queen's elaborate hairstyles, and her use of the powder that was literally made of like flour and cornstarch and potato starch,
And
food,
lead.
and it was made out of food.
She literally was a pizza crust.
Yes, she was. Her hair was powdered with things that was required for food. So this sort of kind of set off people being like, okay, well, there's people starving in the streets, like, and she's using potato.
Can we eat your hair?
Yes, exactly. So on top of her like
She looked
elaborate,
beautiful, and she added more lead to it
yes,
because it made it look smooth
yes,
and beautiful and white.
She also had a really uneven hairstyle, like hairline, because her hair was literally falling out from all of this, from all of the crap
The
she added to her hair.
craziness.
Yeah. So eventually, this wound up leading to more scandalous claims, such as sexual affairs and then high treason, and all because her subjects detested her over-exuberant hair. So the queen was eventually accused of incest, which prompted the Revolutionary Court to finally make the case to condemn Marie Antoinette to death. Leonard Audie was exiled to Germany while the queen was being held, awaiting her fate. So the executioners arrived in her cell with a pair of shears, grabbed her by her famously controversial hair, and roughly cut all of it off before she was taken to the guillotine, which is Scott's least favorite form of execution.
Correct. The guillotine, you can hear the knife billowing towards your neck. It's terrifying.
It's scary.
Keep going.
Okay, so her head was parted from her body on October 16th,
That's a nice way to put
1763.
it.
Yeah.
She wasn't decapitated. Her head was just parted from her body. Yeah.
There's actually rumors that when they held her
like
head
that
up,
party.
she blinked. A lot of people, we should cover that. I'll cover guillotines.
Oh, would you?
I'll cover guillotines.
That's my favorite form of.
November.
I do have some open slots in November. We're covering the guillotine.
Small pop blankets and November and.
Why you gotta give away my secret? This is why I don't tell you shit. Anyway, she left us with the great quote:
I know I gotta see this.
If the people have no bread,
Give them cake? You guys keep
let them eat cake. And this, with the lack of bread and basic needs for people to eat, the main reason, because of their overly powdered hair, large powdered hair, large.
Not like they're
Should you add
electric.
some
You
flour
said
to what I
powdered.
got going on?
power.
You asked.
The main reason why the aristocracy died was because of the overexuberance of the rich, and then with all of their powdered hair, large hairstyles fell to the wayside. Apart from the ludicrous cost of creating giant elaborate updos, Jesus Christ.
Updudes? Shameless plugging.
So the powder
dudes.
the powder was also made of things that were required for making food, like the flour and the cornstarch and the potato starch. So the French people were literally starving, and the royals and the nouveau riche were putting food in their hair. So the fall of the aristocracy and hairstyles, they finally started to become more subdued, smaller, kind of back to normal and natural, and more sensical, so that way things like potato and food starch could be used.
I prefer nonsensical.
You'd fit in great with the nouveau riche. So they wound up cutting back on the over-exuberant hairstyles so that people could eat. And that's one of the reasons...
I don't like to eat. That's fine.
So that's one of the reasons why the big hairs fell out of fashion.
Yeah, because it was literally falling out of fashion.
Yes.
That's a balding joke.
So our sources are GeoWalton.com, an article from the HuffPost called Marie Antoinette's Craziest, Most Epic Hairstyles.
Sex is very important.
I legally have to say these sources. Wikipedia.
Yep.
The history of the hairsworld.com, and an article from express.k.uk called 10 Shocking Facts About Georgian Women. And that is why we don't have big hair anymore.
And only in your state.
Not only in your state. This is from the UK.
This is all of your life.
And then in 1776, we decided we were going to off King George III, which was the middle of the Georgian hairstyles, and then the U.S. was born.
Because he was drooly?
He was drooly.
So yeah.
No. That was that particular singer.
He admitted that,
So
he has a problem.
This episode was a bit different than usual. But yeah, that's good to change it up sometimes. So if you made it this far,
cheers, bitch.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
This was an experiment, and you can tell us what you think of it.
Oh, just tell us to fuck off. It'll be fine.
When Murphy listens to this, it'll be the first time she remembers what happened during this episode. So, goodbye.
Bye.
You want to say bye?
Thanks for listening to our terrible podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at TMSTPod.
And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at Tell Me Something Terrible.
Oof, that was terrible.